Hello, folks.
Hi there.
It's another episode of Würfelcast, episode 74. If I'm not mistaken.
It is.
And today was gonna. It's been a while. So, but we're here today. It's Sunday, not Saturday, but I mean, it's still good to be back.
It is. It's mostly my fault because I went away.
Yeah, we had a huge argument with Kyle, and no, I'm kidding.
I wasn't aware of that, but I did go away.
All right, so but just to explain where you've been, because I mean, people have seen you in some of the videos, but you weren't actually there. These were all pre-recorded.
Oh yeah, I pre-recorded. I went away to Thailand for about 2 weeks, and was there, and it was fantastic and extremely cheap and wonderful.
Nice. What did you do there?
I saw a bunch of temples, went to some drag shows, and rode an elephant.
Oh, that's nice.
And saw Bangkok.
Oh, what's the game? The Formula E or so? Not the Formula E.
There's Formula E. I've never played it, but I think that takes place in India.
Yeah, it's like with elephants or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was on. It's a hard to find game. I think it was a Kickstarter, and then there was a small print run.
Oh, so you tried to find the game and you found the real elephant. You tried to ride the real elephant.
Something like let's pretend that that's what happened.
But we're here. We're back, and back with the usual format of the show. And without further ado, let's start with the recent plays. And I mean, Kyle was away for 2 weeks. I'm not sure if you've played anything there, but I'm sure you still played something.
I brought some games with me, but I'm going to talk about a game that I played sort of in the run-up to going out of town, and that I'll probably continue now that I'm back. The game is actually an expansion for another game, and this is called Wrath of the Lighthouse. And it is the expansion for Imperial Settlers Empires of the North.
Of the Lighthouse?
Wrath of the Lighthouse, yeah, that...
Okay.
Yeah,
that's
there you go.
Long name.
I promise I'm not making it up.
Imperial Settlers, Empires of the North, Wrath of the Lighthouse, the deluxe edition, special edition, whatever, 2021 or 2.
Yeah, we need to have a lot more titles in this title. So Imperial Settlers is a game that I've liked for a long time. Empires of the North is sort of a revamping of that, with the difference being that you have only private decks rather than a shared one. That's the biggest difference. Wrath of the Lighthouse is a solo expansion, and it's a solo campaign. So the way you'll do it is you'll select any one deck, except there's 2 that don't work for it, and those are the 2 that really have heavy player interaction, so that wouldn't really work very well in a solo game anyway. So you take your deck, and you're going to play through a story. You play through Scenario 1, following the rules for the solo game, and then depending on how you do, it'll take you down one path or another path. And so you win or lose that one, and you go down and again. So each game you're going to be resetting your deck. You don't really add cards to your deck, but you might be changing some tableau cards that go into it. There might be permanent buildings or events that are happening, or different scenario effects that are just going to be going on. There's a deck of harvest cards that when you do a harvest action, you'll draw an event and resolve it. There's a deck of sea cards that when you go sailing, sometimes you'll draw one and resolve it. And you're going to play through, and you're going to play through, and you're going to play through. And it's really just several games of Empires of the North. Now, my thoughts about it, I've enjoyed it. If you enjoy solo Empires of the North, then you'll enjoy this, right? It's if you bought it just for, I think, about 15 solo scenarios and didn't want to play the campaign, I think it would be worthwhile. The campaign itself is a little bit monotonous because you always are using the same deck again and again and again, and it's a little bit too long. I kind of was done with it at about game 10 and ready to kind of move on to something else. Um, and I don't know that the rules are very well explained. There are some parts where it's just not very clear what you're supposed to do, or where, it says make a deck, but then it doesn't tell you really how to do it. The rules are kind of in a bunch of different places. I wish that had been a little clearer. There's a couple of significant typos that change the way things work completely. So I wish they'd maybe done a little bit more proofreading before pushing print. But as a game, I enjoy it. I enjoy Empires of the North. It's not going to change your opinion on the game. If you didn't like it, you're not going to like this. If you don't want to play solo, you can skip this. If you like solo and want to play a campaign, this is absolutely for you. And if you like solo, and what I'm probably just going to do with it from now on is to open to a scenario and play it. I don't really see very much going on between them that would really prevent you from doing that. And I think that's probably going to be this thing's highest and best function. So that's my experience with Wrath of the Lighthouse. Enjoyed it, but don't love it.
All right, so the campaign mode isn't worth it really, and but the solo
It's too
experience is
long.
nice. It's so long.
Solo experience is nice, but the campaign is just it's too long and it feels a little bit on rails.
I can see that there are some games where the campaigns, like games that you can play as a one-off experience and that have campaign modes, are rather monotonous campaigns. It's usually when the game wasn't designed as a campaign game and then they put it in as a kind of a side plot, and it
Right.
just doesn't work. Sometimes it works. Like for example, a great example is Scythe, which added the
Sure.
campaign, which wasn't, you could just open it all up and play it, but the campaign worked in a sense, and it wasn't designed as a campaign game. So yeah,
Sure.
I can see how it's a struggle to add campaign to existing games, because it's just they won't work. They need to be their
Yeah.
unique campaign experience.
I will say, of all the expansions for Empires of the North, this is the very last one to get. Because, all the other ones add different decks with different strategies and things to do with, whereas this one just kind of lets you have a few more solo scenarios.
I'm still, confused as to, sometimes it's, or not sometimes, like never. I mean, like for the purpose of marketing, okay, I can see why they put Imperial Settlers, Empires of the North, but it should have been just Empires of the North. Why? Why do you want to put this Imperial Settlers in there? Because
I
try to sell it
disagree.
as a different, unique game, because in that way. But I mean, like
It should
people
have been
will get
titled
confused.
51st State Imperial Settlers Empires of the North to
Or
get
something like that.
all
Exactly.
three in there. Because
But
but they're both sort of spins on 51st State.
because if like we play a lot of games with you, there's some people who will be interested in Empires of the North, and they will be looking at Imperial Settlers, Empires of the North. They will be thinking it's an expansion or stuff like that. It's confusing. Do not do that. I suggest never doing that. It's like, for example, what a good example yet again is Abyss has this small card game called Conspiracy, and so they named it Conspiracy Abyss Universe with a small tile, Abyss Universe, but it's called Conspiracy, and they put Abyss Universe to kind of tie it to Abyss. But I mean, like the first is, I don't know. Anyway, yeah. Maybe.
Yeah, well, that's what I
So
played recently.
so for my choice, actually, I'm gonna cheat a little bit, but don't get worried because I'm
Is it
gonna
a
talk
video
about
game again?
no, I'm gonna talk about two games, but one of them is very briefly. No, very briefly.
Okay.
I'm just gonna mention it because it's an escape room game. So I found a new system. I mean, like it's for 2021, but I haven't seen like probably it's a small company and distribution, whatever, probably just came out, and it's called Danger in the Deep. It's you're in a submarine. You have some kind of a booklets, and you have the UV light that you can, if you there's a map, and you go with your UV light. You can see some stuff hidden with that UV light, etc. And blah blah blah. There are some cards. It's your usual like exit the game or whatever. I would say don't get excited about this system because it felt monotonous. It didn't feel good. I mean, like, if you wanna
Great.
experience a great escape room game, just go with Unlock series or earlier exits. Um, this one just, meh. I was disappointed. But uh, so let's talk about the game. I really want to talk about is it's Imperium,
Okay.
and you can go classics or legends. So I played again. We both played the faction for the first time. So my friend played Arturians, and I played the Atlantans.
Okay.
So the whole premise of the game is that it's kind of like a deck building game, but each one of you has their own kind of a powers and a deck that you build from. There is a common pool as well. You can see in the picture there's a common market that you can buy the cards from, and it's a very tight deck building game. You must be very precise about what you get. It has a little bit that Magic the Gathering feel, with like you sometimes buy lands, you put them out, they work for you. It's like a mix of all these different CCG kind of a slash deck building, etc. And it's great. It's monotonous in the sense of keywords and learning curve. It's just it's like with the what was the game called, the Android Network, for example. It's
Mhm.
on that same kind of a level of like, so this is called a history, a discard pile. No, a history. This is called a flooded deck. This one is called your
Well,
nation deck, and etc.
sure.
Like they try to tie the mechanisms to the theme while you're playing. It gives a little bit of that theme, but I mean, for example, I played Atlanteans, and they have this kind of a flooded pile, which is instead of the history. And the history
Right.
is something where you put the cards away; they're not in the game anymore. They still score you points, basically.
Right.
And and the thing is that, okay, if you would just call it like out of the game or discard, whatever,
Hmm.
or let's say you can stick to history, whatever. But this is a flooded pile because it's the Atlanteans. I mean, there's a card which is like called Flood, and it says I have to flood a land, so I have to discard a land card with this flood card. I would get the theme from those two cards already. I flooded a land. Okay, you don't need to have these extra keywords for each of the decks and things, and it's cool. Like, for example, Arturians had quests, but I mean overly. So if there are several different factions or nations or whatever. Arturians and Atlanteans are, of course, mythical, legendary nations.
Like the
Arturians,
Egyptians.
yeah. That was weird. But Arturians are not really a nation. I would say it's uh, I don't know. It's a legend, indeed,
Hmm.
story, a legend. But is it a nation? it's,
Yeah.
it's weird. Anyway, let it be. So they played the Arturians, and I feel it's a difficult faction to play. They struggled. They played well, but I was like, I got like about 40 points more than them.
Okay.
Atlanteans was really like not easy to play, but once I got the right cards and I thinned out my deck, so basically each time you it's like a deck building, yeah. When you
It is a deck building game.
yeah, when you need to shuffle kind of a shuffle when you need to shuffle the deck, you add a new card from your nation deck usually, and then you get a new card. Basically, it's automatic, and plus you can buy some cards, and when you buy, they go into your hand, but whatever. And for me, those flat cards that I had, I tried to thin out the deck as early as possible and bring in the cards which really benefited me with the kind of like this engine building and chain reaction fashion. So half of my game, I was playing with the same 6 or 7 cards because I also got the card that increases my hand size, and I was like,
Hmm.
so I have these 6 cards in my hand, nothing in my discard, nothing in my pile. So when I play them, I just pick them up again. Play them, just pick them up again, and I rotate it. So I got rid of, if I got a new card, I got rid of some card. Whatever, it's like my engine worked so perfectly.
Sure.
And Atlantis is all about that. Atlantis is about a very thin deck and very precise, exact cards that you need. I was lucky to get some of those cards, of course. But yeah, I just was really fast to go through this king of power, this purple deck. Let's say I don't
The
know.
King of Kings.
King of
Yes.
Kings. There's a King of
You became
Kings deck.
Jesus. Um,
Yeah, I got through that
Okay.
deck. I got a lot of cool cards from there,
hmm
and we played with the Legends basic cards. I think they're a little bit different than the Classics basic cards. Some of them.
I'm not sure.
I think King of Kings cards are, I think, different. I don't
King of
know.
Kings is in both.
Oh,
What's
yeah.
what's different is those vassal nations, the little blue flags, whatever they're called.
Yeah.
Those are different between the two decks.
hmm But anyway, um, that was cool. I really
Yeah.
like the game, but if you so it must be kind of like a lifestyle game. You must play it. You must get familiar with it. If you haven't played it in a while, it takes a while. For example, I think we both played the new faction. We read the cards, so I had to wait like 10 minutes for my opponent's turn for them to do some kind of a turn and figure something out. It's they are rather, I mean, sometimes slow on AP
Sounds
Pro,
like
let's
it.
say. Yeah, kind of AP Pro, but maybe anyway. Still, this is a game that struggles in pace, and you need to be very familiar with factions, with the gameplay, etc., with the keywords. So you just like, oh, because with some of these keywords, I'm still like, and this was like, well, take means take from here into your hands, and break through and acquire. Like all 3 different things, but acquire is only from the market. Breakthrough is from the piles in the market, but you can also, not take the whatever the red cards, whatever they are, the
The
disaster
riot
cards.
card or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, look, we don't even remember all the names of these. That's the thing. It's like too many keywords, and I'm not sure
There's a
if
lot
you
of terms.
try to do this Magic the Gathering thing. If the Magic has the same kind of a problem, like if you want to go into the Magic the Gathering right now, it's like no, you won't be able. You need a guide to guide you through and
hmm
play with you and explain the game. So yeah, a great game, uh,
Yep.
but has its flaws within the space and the complexity of just going through the game. Not the game itself. I mean, the rules are rather simple if you get past that, symbology, the keywords. Yeah.
Yep. I like it. I definitely recommend it at 1 or 2 players, not more than that.
Oh
Um,
yes. Oh yes. Otherwise, you'll be sitting there for the whole day. It's just too slow. I mean, with 2 players, it's rather slow, but
sure.
yeah. Still,
Anyway,
great art. Yeah.
it's a fun game. I'm looking forward to its next expansion coming next year.
The Horizons, which adds, I think, 12 new factions.
Yeah, something
Was
like
that?
that.
12 factions. I mean, like, there
Hopefully,
must be
no new
something.
rules.
I heard there will be some few
I'm
rules
sure.
and unique factions things, but uh, I'm not sure. Like, I think they've tested it, but how much? I think there will be some broken uh, combos. Sure,
Well,
sure.
we'll see.
Yeah. Okay, let's get to the next topic, which is a crowdfunding. And
Yeah,
I will let you start.
this was a pretty empty pool this week. My
This month.
number 2 was the big box of doors. But my but on Kickstarter, I'll talk today about Shake That City.
It's on Kickstarter.
It is. And Shake That City is it kind of looks like a cousin of Tiny Towns,
Uh,
to be honest. What you have is
Okay.
this gimmicky little box, and you'll
Mm-hmm.
shake the box, and it has cubes in it. You'll push this
Ooh.
lever, and it'll drop out 9. And then you
Ooh.
take all of one color and place tiles on your board in the same sort of orientation. And then other people will choose a different color and do the same. It's it looks very simple, looks fast. It's not particularly expensive. I do hope that at some point they'll make a plastic version of this shaker because having used cardboard shakers in games before, they wear out a lot more quickly than I think anybody realizes. And so here's hoping for some plastic. But it looks fine. I'll play it. I'll enjoy it. It doesn't look like it's going to be revolutionary, but for a light game that'll work well with a group and be pretty fast, I think this
Mm-hmm.
one looks interesting.
Okay. I mean, like it's a cool gimmick, which will get old really fast, and
Especially if your
should.
box breaks.
Yeah, I'm not sure how necessary it was the cube shaker instead of just doing some other mechanism, but probably
Well,
it's
it
a
puts them out in a
shake the city.
square.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
Ooh, shake wild nights. Ooh, another shaker.
Yeah, I gotta shake it on a wild night. Anyway, this is not a particularly strong crop of games on these platforms right now. So,
So
but this
let's
is one that
see.
doesn't look terrible.
It's not expensive indeed. It's
No.
29. If it would have been a plastic shaker, then would have been probably $45 for that. No, it's
Well,
not.
that's how much I'll buy the one on Etsy later on if they don't give me one. Um,
And it includes the Wild Nights micro expansion, so you have two shakers, so you can
mhm.
make a cocktail. Okay, so it's March 2023. Okay, let's hope. I mean, you know that. Sure.
AEG
Anyway,
tends to be very optimistic with its projections.
March. It's like around the corner. It's like a few months, and the game must be already in print and probably ready to be shipped on
Yeah.
through like in China
Yeah.
to the
Well,
hubs and in Europe or US or whatever. Yeah.
anyway, that's what I've got for you.
My pick is from Kickstarter as well. It's called Pest, and it's just a cool box. It has this play
Yeah.
button on top here, but basically, yeah, this interesting thing. So this is a you like working in this city that was struck by plague and is still there. You're trying to rebuild your like help people heal and rebuild your economy and things, and it's engine building, resource management, action selection, whatever. I just looked at it. It's a cool theme. It's a Euro game. It has this capital city miniature. I mean, um,
Sure.
the art is totally fine. I like the art. Um, I don't know much about it. Uh, the only thing
It
is
looks
that
very. The board looks really dark.
yeah, but if you see the first picture, I mean, let me see. So you see, there's a lot of color
Okay.
within the pieces. So probably if the board would be too colorful, first of all, it wouldn't be within the theme, and second, it would be
Right.
probably very too much color
Maybe.
for your eyes. But it's about $80, and it's gonna be like they are not optimistic at all. It's May 2024, so it's like
Yeah.
1.5 years
I'm out.
and and that's where I'm not backing projects anymore because if it's
Neither
not
am
something
I.
like for example if Cyclades or Kikladis would come out right now, it's then I would probably back it because it's something I know is it's amazing. Uh, but but past yeah I waiting for 1.5 years, the economy is unstable. They're probably gonna have to ask you for more money in a year's time to help with the extra costs of shipping going up drastically and etc. So I'm not sure. Um, I don't know. It's just
Yeah.
too far away.
Yeah, I saw this one and it looked kind of generic to me. It didn't look like there was
Yeah.
anything super exciting about it. Um, but
I'll check it out when it comes out.
yeah, exactly.
Still, if you wanna, you can play it. All right, let's get to the next topic, which is buy, try, goodbye.
Okay, and it's my turn.
It's
All
your
right,
turn,
now
yeah.
I looked and it did not look like you had a rating for these games, so I'm going to
Oh
assume you
wait,
have not played them.
briefly, I'll just mention that buy, try, goodbye is each time different person picks 3 games, and the other person needs to choose one game they would buy, one game they would try, one game that would be like, no, it's not for me. Goodbye. It's like suggestions of games to each other. Yeah. All right.
Okay. So this time we are trying two-player only games. So that's
Oh, it's
our
all goodbye
common
now.
theme. Well, I don't know. At least you'll have to pick at least one of them. So these are one of these is new, and the other two have been around for a little while.
Hmm.
Um, the first game is a World War II themed game.
Hmm.
It's advertised as giving you the entirety of World War II in just 20 minutes. This game involves pulling chits from a bag, placing them out, activating special abilities, and doing some sort of a tight tug of war on several different tracks. The game is called Blitzkrieg.
Hmm.
It does feature fairly bad artwork and somewhat mediocre components,
Uh,
but the
hmm.
gameplay is fast and very tense, and at least I find quite enjoyable. That's your first option this week.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
The second two-player game is a bright and colorful game, brand new. It kind of came out last year, but only like 100 copies, so it's really out this year. The game is a tight two-player game, sort of in the Magic the Gathering style of game, where you're playing
Hmm.
cards and trying to knock your opponent's health down. The game is called Mind Bug.
Mind bug.
In Mindbug, you have a bunch of overpowered cards. You have a small deck, I think only 10 cards, so it's going to be a short game. And each turn you're either going to play a card or use a card to attack your opponent. Oh, the twist being that when you play a card, your opponent has 2 mind bugs. And if you play something that's too good, the opponent can simply dispatch one of their mind bugs, take control of the card, and
Hmm.
turn it against you. So you're always kind of wondering the timing of when to use those is critical to the game. The game itself will last anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes. It's not long at all. The artwork is colorful. The rules are small. The box is small, although I have a huge box for mine for some reason. And it's a light, fast two-player game, not to be taken too seriously, though.
Okay.
That is your number two. Your number three is a classic of abstract strategy. It's a game that's really a kind of almost a chess variant, but instead of attacking your opponent's king, you're attacking your opponent's duke in the Duke. In the Duke, you have your pieces are these wooden tiles that you'll pull from a bag, and they each have a movement pattern on them. And when you move it, you're going to flip it over, and it'll have a different movement pattern on the other side. You start with a symmetric hand, but as on your turn, you can either activate one of your tiles or draw something from your bag and place it on the board. So your
Hmm.
army is gradually going to expand as the game goes on. Take your opponent's Duke first, and you win.
All right.
Those are your three two-player games.
So, Blitzkrieg, Mind bug. I'm, shortening the names, and the Duke,
Yep.
which also. All right. So, look, for me, let's say out of these three, I always like to look at good art and you know try something quick. And if it's quick, and if it's bad, then I won't be. And if it's cheap, I won't be as disappointed. Okay, so for my buy, I'm gonna go with the Mind Bug. it's Richard Garfield, so I'm
It
kind of a,
is.
I'm expecting a good game, and also a artwork which remind me of King of Tokyo type of artwork. And you say it's like 10 minutes game. It has this mechanism of mind bug, so you can kind of take control of opponents' cards and things. That sounds great.
Okay.
So yeah, that's something I out of those three would
You're going to
buy.
buy it. All right.
So now for try or goodbye, I think you thought of it. I think you probably were quite sure what would be the goodbye, what would the try. So look, the Duke is medieval. I'm not sure about this theme, but at some point I was
There
thinking
isn't
about
one.
the Duke.
Um,
Yeah, at some point I was thinking about the Duke, and I was thinking about trying it because it reminds me a little bit of Onitama, just a bit with these
okay.
patterns of movement plus the Tashkalar, which I played and I liked, which also has this patternal movement. Yeah, it also has this thing, different, how they move around. It's all the same. So for my try would be the Duke, because it sounds interesting. It sounds something familiar, and the Blitzkrieg is, I don't know if sadly, but goodbye, because I'm not interested in the World War theme. War theme. It looks abysmal, and it's like tug of war kind of a thing, which I just don't like. Like all the things I hear about Blitzkrieg, I just don't like them in games. So yeah, Blitzkrieg is a definitive goodbye.
All right. There you go.
All right, and here we get to the main topic of today, which is top 10 post-apocalyptic games. Now,
Yeah.
so first of all, there's some things I want to talk about. First of all, I hope you chose the right games for that, because some people tend to confuse post-apocalyptic to futuristic, to alternative reality, to sometimes even fantasy, to sci-fi, etc. There might be some elements of sci-fi, fantasy, and futuristic things in post-apocalyptic games, but for me at least, and I hope you agree, post apocalyptic means the world has ended and is being rebuilt, or it was rebuilt, and the humanity is trying to survive within the new realities of the world. And one of the examples that I was thinking about is like, I don't know if some people would call it, but for example, Scythe is not a post apocalyptic game, it's alternative
No.
reality. Like there was no ending of the world. And when I was looking at my at the games I played, I haven't played many of them. I mean, I
Yeah.
really like the theme, but there aren't many games that kind of invite me to play them with this theme. I don't know. Maybe I haven't played enough, or maybe I played some of them. Like for example, one of the biggest disappointments for me was Downfall. If you remember, from a company which is
Oh, yeah. I
now
didn't even play that.
bankrupt. So the company bankrupt, but Downfall, amazing art, components, ideas, really bad gameplay. I mean, like there was some few interesting mechanisms, but it was such a disappointing game, and it would have been one of the biggest and baddest post-apocalyptic games out there. Would have
Sure.
been if they would have,
If it had been a good game.
yeah, streamlined it further, or it's like reworked it. And I hope maybe someday somebody will, but maybe not. It's a very complex game.
I think that
Um,
one's dead. Um,
so you agree with that? So I don't know.
I don't think we'll have any disagreements on at least. I think each of mine is at least arguably a choice, and most, if not all of them, will show up if you search theme post apocalyptic on Board Game Geek.
Okay, and the other thing is that for my list, I arranged them not in a sense of my favorite game and my least favorite game, but in a sense of how much I feel the post-apocalyptic theme or something like that. The feel of that.
Ah,
So my first game might
I
not be
did
my
not arrange them that way.
yeah.
I arranged them in the terms of how much I like them and how much I don't.
So we'll have different lists, but
But
these are 10 anyway. You hear about
yeah,
all the 10 games. All right,
sure.
let's get to
And I will say this is probably one of my least favorite themes. It's one where
mm,
I feel it shows up a lot and it kind of often is done in a lazy manner. And so the
yes.
game has to be really interesting for me to be interested in playing it. So this is a theme that has to work extra to get me in the door.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as I said, I like the theme, but many of such games are just not good enough for me to want to play them.
Sure.
Yeah. All right, let's get to number 10.
Anyway, let's go. All right. My number 10 is a brand new game. And the only reason it's on number 10, this is a game I can see becoming my number two or three because it
Mm-hmm.
is just that good. But I've only played it one time. And so I've got to sort of put it in at the new entry on the list. Uh, and this game is called Frostpunk. In
Mm-hmm.
this game, the world has ended. There's really kind of three apocalypses. You can have heat, death, like super hot world, super cold world, or zombies. This is super cold world, and you are kind of working together to find a solution to your problem. And you don't even really know your goal at the start of the game unless you've played that scenario before. And so each turn you're going to be building buildings, and then you have to be pay attention to the temperature, be based on their insulation level. There's this large generator thing in the middle of the table, which I always set off to the side of the table because I then can't see what's on the other side. I say always, the one time I played the game. But this generator is going to be radiating heat. But as you heat it, you're going to have to drop cubes into it, and it might start to end up being damaged. And so that's kind of like a cube tower, an interesting take on that. And then every time you do actions that are cold, your people will get sick. As people get sick, they start to have less usefulness. They might have to spend the day in bed. You have to worry about food. You have to worry about lots of things. This is a game where things are always terrible all the time, but it's
Mm-hmm.
really very interesting. It's a fantastic. There's lots of nice moral choices you can make. There's a lot of variety in the different events that are going to come up. I'm assuming all the scenarios kind of play differently. You can definitely make the game harder if you want to. I don't think I need to yet because the one time I played it, I lost. Um, I will say, in terms of rules, there are a lot. It took me, I mean, just setting the game up the first time, figuring out what everything was, took me at least an hour. It'll be
Mm.
better next time, I'm sure. But it was just a very beastly game to get into, and there's not a lot of really good videos about the game, so it was kind of pretty much open the rule book and just go for it. I'm really glad I did though because I had a fantastic time, and this is one I, with the right people, can see definitely coming back to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And it's definitely post-apocalyptic.
well, it is. It is. It's based on the video game that I haven't tried because
Oh,
I've heard it's very harsh, survival things.
yeah.
I'm usually,
Well,
strategic survival games. I'm not sure if how much I like those as a video games. It's very stressful for me, but I mean, like, I want to try at some point the video game itself, and I want to try this board game as well because it's my theme. As a board game, it will be a little bit more fun for me than the video game.
well,
I
I
think.
know where you can find a copy to play.
Um. No, what? Where? Um.
I-
Okay. So let's get to my number 10, which
Let's.
is an old game, and it's it's a 10 because it's a good game, but I mean, how much of a theme is there? It's a post-apocalyptic world, but I wouldn't say it's very thematic one. It's Neuroshima Hex.
Okay.
So Neuroshima Hex is a very tactical game.
Yeah.
It's all about placing your troops in the right direction, the right placement with all the, and there's also a lot of different factions, etc. They play
A
differently, and
lot of different factions.
yeah, they're trying to kind of kill. I haven't played it for a very long time, but you have to kind of kill the base of another player, or something like that. And yeah, it's very tactical how you choose. You choose from some of the tiles, and some of the tiles you need to discard. So I like this choice of you pull the 3 tiles. I don't remember, was it 1 or 2 of them are
Yeah,
played, and
you play 2 and throw 1 away.
yeah, thrown away. It's now it's out of the game basically, and it's a harsh choice. I like that. I like how there are so many different factions, and it's very tactical. It's very much of a like a fight in sorry, in a knife fight in a booth kind of a thing. If it makes sense. Yeah, it was a nice experience. Just because it's also like a little bit of that lifestyle game that you need to play a lot in order to. It's like it is with like Summer Wars, for example, Naruto Hex, etc. These are games that you need to play constantly to get familiar with the powers, to be familiar, to be with the strategic advances of the factions. Um, yeah, it's a good
Yeah,
game, but you need to be sure that this is the game that you're gonna play a lot. Otherwise,
sure.
it's not worth it to have it included.
Yeah, I definitely considered this. I mean, the apocalyptic theme is really not there, but but I know technically it is. I'm not sure where the. I don't know if it is it from something or is it just an old game. It looks like the game came out the same year as Summoner Wars, though, and Portal
Uh,
continues to support it. They put out a new faction this year.
yeah, it's from their role playing game. I don't know if it's
Oh,
theirs.
okay.
Hiroshima is a Polish role playing game. I think it's theirs probably, or something like
And
that.
it looks like I've been looking at it while you've been talking. It looks like Last Aurora has a title, Hiroshima Last Aurora,
Huh?
because it also shows up. Maybe that's related somehow too. I don't know.
Hiroshima Last Aurora.
Yeah, that game, Last Aurora. Anyway, but I like Hiroshima Hex. It's a great game, but it's a tough one to play.
What? That's
Yeah,
weird.
yeah, yeah. I didn't. I just literally just saw that. I was looking at how old the game was, and
It's impossible because Last Aurora doesn't have any Hiroshima in there. It's
I,
like
I, I
it's not related at all.
I know, but if you search
I know.
Hiroshima Last Aurora, you will see it.
It's probably
Maybe
maybe
it's the
the
Polish
Polish
version,
version that kind of a
trying to get
mm,
people in.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
All right, let's get to number 9.
All right. My number 9. So one of the best post-apocalyptic world books is a book. It's an older book too. It's called Swan Song, and this
Mm.
game just kind of gives me the whole Swan Song storyline. It is a re-implementation of another game, which is a re-implementation of Pandemic, and the game is called Defenders of the Last Stand. So in
I
this
thought that you would
game,
say I would say that the Swan Song, the book, the game, the
oh
Hiroshima Hex universe,
yeah, looks
Imperial.
like Daniel is saying that Last Aurora was rebranded into Hiroshima for Polish market. So there we go.
Yeah, that makes sense. Probably the Portal games just wanting to.
Okay. Anyway, but Defenders of the Last Stand. In this game, you're trying to defeat 4 factions, and you're kind of there's 4 factions that are doing different things around the world. You are trying to prevent them from getting into the Last Stand, which is your city, and ultimately, you're going to be collecting sets of cards and fighting them using dice. The cards give you dice. It's a very much a Defenders of the Realm rule set, but with a nice and interesting post-apocalyptic world theme. And again, when I was reading Swan Song, everything in that book kind of made me think of this game. I know
Mhm.
it's not based on that, but it just really feels like that world. And that's a very interesting world. And this is, of course, the sort of hot wasteland, post apocalyptic world that we sometimes get. I enjoy it. In fact, I think I enjoy it more than Defenders of the Realm.
Mm.
But I don't know that it was a huge hit, kind of hard to find, but it's one that I will still pull out every now and then.
Okay. I'm played this one. I played Defenders of the Realm. I think that was, and people said it's like Pandemic. I
It
wasn't
is.
sure about this, so that's why shocking if people don't still know. I have not played any of the Pandemics. I think no, I'm not. I've never played
Well,
Pandemic because I'm just not interested in
okay.
Defenders of the
But this
Realm.
is not Pandemic. This is Defenders of the Last Stand.
Yeah, yeah, true. But if it has some vibes of that, I don't know. It's
It
just
has some similar. The way that the rules work is somewhat similar.
okay. All right. So for my number 9, and don't die on your phone. It's a two-player game,
Ooh.
and the one that I really enjoyed. It's a post-apocalyptic world, but I mean the theme is there. There's like a scarcity of fuel, something like that, and the rest
Oh,
is
I know which game this is.
abstract.
Does it have sand timers?
Yeah, it's Caro,
And
and not kerosene. It's Caro.
not
Um,
Caro syrup.
anyway, yeah, you can see the sand timer here. It's Caro is like it has each player has this truck, and it's a sand timer that you place the truck on its side, and so it starts like spending the fuel. While you spend the fuel, you roll the dice, and if the fuel runs out and you haven't decided on your dice, then you're busted basically. A little bit of push your luck and a little bit of that, rolling dice as fast as possible and to get the right results. And everything else is just evolving around this collecting resources from those dice and then trying to and you can get the different dice as well and getting the cards, getting the lands for the points, using your tokens, etc. to beat on the lands. A little bit of everything, it's quite good of a two-play game. To be honest, I like that. I like this mechanism of like this is gimmick. This is a toy basically. The sand timers, they could have been just sand timers, but I like how they implemented those into trucks. At least it gives you a little bit that toy factor and the theme.
Sure.
And yeah, everything else is just collect the right cards and
Right.
go through the game. Yeah, and roll the dice. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd try this one again. I played it with you and I wasn't super enamored with it. And then I played it again and I liked it a little bit more. But it's not one that really grabbed me, but I would try it again
Oh,
sometime.
so you say I'm responsible for your disliking of the game? So you
No, I
played
just
with
don't think
me,
that,
you didn't like it, and you played with somebody else, you liked it more. Okay, I see the pattern. I
well,
see the pattern.
exactly. So if I play it by myself, I'll love it.
All by myself. Okay, I'm sorry. Let's
Uh,
get to
don't be sorry, be better.
let's get to number 8.
Okay. My number 8 is one that I think will probably appear on your list because I know you like this game a lot.
Oh, I do.
This is a game of a post-apocalyptic world and then in some sort of time travel, and the game is Anachrony. And so you're kind of in this post-apocalyptic world, and you're
I
trying
don't
to
know that
defend
game.
against yet another apocalypse. And really, what you're doing is placing workers. I mean, it's really a worker placement game. And the gimmick
Hmm.
is that you can send stuff back to yourself from the future. It's really just a loan that you have to repay, but that's, I guess, what loans are time travel. Um, it's a very interesting game with a
Okay.
big expansion, lots of different modules, lots of different things to try. A very ambitious game. It's lower on my list just because it's the kind of game that I really have to relearn every time I play it, and it's a
Yeah.
difficult game to teach and to pick up. But once you get into it, it can be a really fascinating experience.
Yeah, it this game seems to be more complicated than it is. Their previous
Right.
game that they previously put out, Tricarion, was much more worse in a sense of complexity. and learning curve. And this one, there's a lot of symbology, but it's all rather clean, I would say. Very clean for such a big game.
Once you get into it, it is. I'll agree with that. But it can be daunting to get there.
Yeah.
And having taught it many times, it's daunting to people just sort of going through the rules. Once you get into it, play a few rounds, yeah, it starts to make sense. But it is a bit of a beastly game, and that's why I don't put it higher, even though I really do enjoy the game.
All right. So my number 8 is another game that I talk about and I want to be reprinted and maybe reworked and put out with the expansion. One of the most, common post-apocalyptic worlds is what? Zombies. The world has
Mm-hmm.
ended. There's zombies. It's the
There
most
always are.
realistic one that can happen in our world. Uh, no, I'm kidding. It's Hit Zero. It's
You do love this game.
no, I don't love it. I like it. I mean, like my rating is 8 based on my previous experiences. If I think about it right now, I would have probably put it on a 6 or something like that, or 7.
Uh, no.
Because I mean, no, I enjoy it, but it can be same experience as you go through uh, again and again with this game.
Sure.
The cool part of this game is, of course, it's like you're on that Route 66 with the zombies, and you're trying to collect resources, and it's all very stylistic. There's a child who made the board game or something like that, and there's the caps from the beers, whatever the beverages, and you're encountering zombies and you're rolling the dice. And I've had some really great moments when we played a multiplayer game where it's like you have your people, and so you roll dice against zombies, and if at least one of your people is there, they can still win. If you roll fine, if you roll well, they can still kill all the zombies. And that's where, I mean, like, I've had very much fun with some of the sessions where there was like one last man standing, and against like 3 zombies, and you roll. Oh, it's nothing. It's like a miss, but the zombie didn't bite you, and you roll. It's like you killed one zombie. You go. It's like, no, it's 1 versus 1, and the last roll is like everybody's standing. It's like, yeah, you have to do this. You have to kill the zombie. It's just this. I would say a push your luck. I mean, I wouldn't say push your luck. It's a lot of that simple dice rolling, which I like. At first, you collect a lot of resources. As you go further, you start seeing less resources and more zombies and more struggle. The other thing I like about this game is the bidding phase. Like, you are bidding with your resources. Like in not Rise of Tribes, in Five Tribes, for example, you are bidding with your points. Here, you're bidding with your resources, and resources are scarce. So if you bid with resources, then you have less resources, and as you go further, you cannot really collect any more resources. The last cards don't have any resources. You might just survive and be lucky with the dice. So I like this idea. It feels harsh. It feels post-apocalyptic. It feels like a world of zombies, with the resources, etc. So it's such a fascinating idea of a game that wasn't supported enough, because probably the base game wasn't enough. They should have put something extra in the base game. And I really hope somebody at some point will pick it up and make it a great game. And it's a I think a Martin Wallace game. Yeah, it's a
It is
Martin
Mark
Wallace
Wallace.
game.
Mm-hmm.
And Pascal Quidal, which is great artwork. I mean, it's a really good game. Just needs to be worked on a little bit more.
Sure. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I don't know that it's one that I needed to play again, but I remember Victor got a copy in the bargain bin at some game convention we attended, and so we played it maybe twice. I think he just kind of handed me the rules and said, "Here, learn to play
Right.
and teach me."
No,
And
it's not a
then
hard
I think
game
we
to learn.
played a learning game and then played it again.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's get to number 7.
Well, if zombies are fair game, my number seven is a zombie game, and it's a zombie game in that cold post-apocalyptic world, and that is Dead of Winter. It's a game that I don't play as often these days. It kind of feels like maybe it had its moment. But when it had
Hmm.
its moment, and when this game works, when it works, when you get the right people playing it, it can be just a fascinating experience. And I would definitely play it again if somebody wanted to.
We
In the
can on
game,
this one.
we can. In the game, you have your survivors in a colony of people, and you're trying to get some sort of a goal, depending on the scenario. And there's crises that are going to happen every round, and you're going to need to try and avert them. And everyone's working together, but people are also trying to work on their own separate goals. There's a possibility that someone's working against you entirely, and then there are zombies that will make you roll the death die, which is always kind of fun and very swingy. And it can be a very tense experience if it all works. If it doesn't work, it's not very much fun. But this game when it is hot or cold, I guess, it's definitely worth your time. It's one I really enjoyed back in the day. I'm glad that maybe we're done with new expansions for it. I think maybe it's been explored as much as it needs to be, but it's a perennial favorite, and a great post-apocalyptic game.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good choice indeed.
Hmm.
Hmm.
I see.
What? No, no, no. It's a nice game. I mean, yeah, it's past its moment. It has issues. Mechanism wise, some issues that another game solved for me, which is like Nemesis. Yeah, Nemesis is not a post-apocalyptic game, but I mean, like Nemesis solved some of these things for me that Winter had.
Sure.
So yeah, but my number seven is not Nemesis,
No.
and you're not my Nemesis, not
Oh, I
yet.
see. Okay.
Maybe Victor is, but arch nemesis. Okay, so my number seven is a game that you will agree is a post-apocalyptic game, and you agree is not extremely thematic. And some people who are fans of that particular designer would say that it's not his best game, and I would say this is perfect game from him for me because I usually wouldn't touch his other games, and that's
Oh, I
Cloud
see.
Age. Oh, that's like wow, weird, weird. Okay, um, Cloud Age. Yes, it's everything is scarce, and like water is hard to get, resources are hard to get, whatever, blah blah blah. So this is you're flying around on this map with your dirigible, whatever it is. How do you call it? Dirigible or
A dirigible, yeah.
dirigible? Yeah, dirigible. And so you're collecting water, and you are basically upgrading your ship, building up your cards to do things better and attack cities that you can attack. There's no really fighting or anything like that. There is it's just, oh, you match the strength, you get it, kind of a thing. It's very simple, but I like how simple it is. I like how you can upgrade yourself and manage resources, and the best thing I like about this one is this push your luck mechanism within those cloud cards. Oh, I
Sure.
love those cloud cards. Oh, this is so much fun. So you bid on those four possibilities, like there's energy, metal, new cards, and water. So basically, it's like different resources, and you're looking at the cards, and you can see behind the clouds some of the parts of that card, and sometimes it might be mischieving because you can see, oh, there's a lot of energy on the card, and then there's even more water you just couldn't see behind the cloud, and you're trying to bid on the right things to get the most out of it. Yeah, I like that. The deck building, it's not really there, but as you get new cards, it's like I like this idea of you pulling two cards, and the lower one is your speed, and the I think it was that way, yeah. And the higher one is your resources, the energy,
I think it's the other way around, but yeah.
or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or speed and whatever. You two cards, one of them is speed, one of them
Yeah.
energy. And as you are
Exactly.
getting those cloud cards, they are, see the high number four. It's high number for this game. So you kind of build up your deck with higher numbers, so you can get high speed plus a lot of energy. Yeah, I like the mix of all of these mechanisms. It just works. Theme wise, there's a campaign mode with story elements. Alexander Pfister is not a storyteller in board games.
No.
I wouldn't say
He
it's
sure
a major
tries,
thing for
though.
him. But still, it's fun to play it as a campaign because you get some, like, it's always a great thing where each game you get new cards, new things.
Sure.
This is always fun. So I would suggest still playing it as a game. You can just, roll your eyes through the text and just get the right stuff and then play the game. You don't need to read. That's doesn't make
It's
sense.
a pretty lousy story, to be honest.
Anyway, my number 7.
Very well. I like Cloud Age. It's of course I like most Alexander Pfister games, and this one was definitely a hit. Although it's not my favorite Alexander Pfister game, but it definitely is a post-apocalyptic world.
Indeed. All right, let's get to number 6.
Oh. All right, my number 6 is a fairly new game, a 2-player only game. It is a Magic the Gathering-esque style game. I don't know why, but actually it's more of a put stuff in grids game and attack. The game is called Radlands. Radlands is a post-nuclear world, and you're using water as your resource to play cards, and ultimately you're trying to destroy your opponent's 3 bases. You can buy a big version in a box like this, or you can buy a tiny one in that. See there in the center? That's the whole game. It's just a bunch of these cards. They're nice plastic cards, brightly colored, interesting themes, interesting artwork. And then, you're going to have different bases every game so that each game will feel a little bit different. And you're just going to play the game through. You've got your deck of cards, and you're trying to wipe out your opponent. Lots of different effects that are going on, lots of different kind of levers to pull and things to manipulate, but a really good, really fast game that's actually been it's been fairly successful for them, I think. And I know I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, I've not played this one. I would like to try it. I'm not sure how much I will, how much I want it into my collection, or how much I really want to play it. But looks
It's
nice.
a good travel game, though.
I can see, not the big box though.
Oh no, the box is like that big.
I mean, the small boxes. Okay. All right. That's a nice choice. Why not? Yeah. My number 6 is the game that I've played a lot during my early days of gaming, where I started this hobby gaming, and we kind of went. There was a particular group of players that we had, to my friends, and where we went from Munchkin, playing a lot of Munchkin, to playing a lot of that game. Yeah, it was a jump, and they haven't played a lot of games with me, but when we played particular games. Like we played Sentinels Multiverse, for example, with them. Yeah,
Is that a post-apocalyptic game?
It's not. It could have been. I don't know about all the campaigns there.
It's not.
Anyway, this one is a deck building game called Arctic Scavengers.
I guess there's one environment that's post-apocalyptic. Anyway, okay, yes. Sorry,
Yeah,
a cold game.
yeah. It's the world kind of has ended, and probably it's I don't know if it's a nuclear winter or something like that, but basically, you are collecting resources, survivors, etc., trying to find your place in this world, trying to survive. and it's a deck building game. It's a usual deck building game. But the cool part about that one is, if you can see the cards have different symbols. So when you play cards, they have different functions based on the symbols. Some of them have special abilities, etc. So you are combining cards for a particular action. For example, if you want to draw cards, so you probably play several cards with that card symbol, etc., to draw more cards. But usually when you have more of one symbol, it doesn't mean you get more, but it means you go through the pile better. For example, if you want to draw cards, you just draw more cards, but you still choose one, or something. You go through the junk pile, you still choose one, but you have a better choice. And there's the skirmish phase, and some of the cards you can leave some of the cards to fight for you, instead of playing them during the round. And when you leave them for the skirmish phase, I like this bit because it has a little bit of bluffing. Sometimes I had cards, like for example, they have 0 fighting value, but I'm putting in 3 cards, or like something like that, 4 cards, and there's like a value of 1 of combat. And other people around, let's say I'm the first player, other people around like, he put in 4 cards. I'm not gonna fight. I'm gonna skip the skirmish phase. I'm not gonna fight that person, and they gonna spend the cards during the turn instead. It's like you make them. It's like make a poker face, and you make them not want to fight you because you put 4 cards in, and then you reveal that your 4 cards were just like survivors with no combat symbols. And like, ha ha ha. I like that.
Okay.
And there's the expansions, and this game should have been. It's Rio Grande Games, so I'm not particularly fond of that company. It should have been supported better, in my opinion, advertised better, because it's such a cool, different deck building game. I really like it, but just needs support. I hope at some point somebody will pick it up, and a good company, a better company will pick it up. Like, for example, Elf Creek Games, for example, to make it worth your while.
I don't know that this is their jam. I don't think this would not be on brand for them.
Yeah, but I mean, at least they do nice work with production.
Sure.
And supporting. All right. My number 6, Arctic Scavengers.
Very well. I still haven't played that one, so I can't speak to it.
You haven't played it? Ooh,
No.
if it's
every time you talk about it, I mention that.
Do you have it?
No.
Buy.
Oh, okay. No.
I'll learn the rules again. I'll teach you.
Is that a promise or a threat?
It's both.
Okay.
No, we really need to play it.
You said that was Victor. Okay.
I tend to change my mind throughout the video.
Okay. We better.
What did you say?
All right. I said we better hurry before you change your mind about your number 5.
I'm gonna change my.
Here's my number 5.
So, yeah.
My number 5. I don't think you'll argue too much with me about this one because it's Cloud Age, which you recently talked about. It's not the strongest post-apocalyptic theme, but it's a very interesting set of game mechanisms, and a game I really enjoy by a designer I really like. He's definitely kind of pushing the envelope on sort of game design and ideas and trying new things. So, number 5, Cloud Age.
Sorry. I thought you didn't say this name.
Oh, I thought I did, but it's Cloud Age.
Yeah, I saw it. So, Cloud Age, yeah, you agree.
There you go.
So
I do.
I'm not gonna change my mind. No, I'm gonna change my mind. Victor is now my arch nemesis. You're fine.
Okay.
You're fine. Choose the right games. All right. So my number 5 is something that wasn't mentioned yet. It's a game that's also a post-apocalyptic world and building your base kind of a thing, and worker placement with moving workers. So it's not like you just place your workers and then pull them out. You have to move them around. They have different strength and etc. So this is Outlive, and I enjoyed Outlive. Theme wise, it gives me more theme than, let's say, Cloud Age or Arctic Scavengers. It's a really interesting concept of a game because you are basically moving around these areas here to collect the resources, and you can block each other with the strength of your workers, etc. And what are you trying to do? You're trying to get the resources to build up your base, which is really cool. I like how you have this kind of thing going on here. So overly, this is not something extremely, unique or something like that. But for what it is, it does well. I like the premise. I like the idea. The deluxe version has these tokens. I think these are
Oh,
the
it
deluxe
does.
version thing. Yeah, I like these tokens, etc., and building up your base with different special abilities or something like that, extras.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a cool concept.
This one I really wanted to like, but every time I played it, it fell flat for me. I eventually, I think, gave it to Victor, and he plays it. So I'm certainly not the voice of the majority here, but it just never really sang for me.
Yeah, villains do tend to like bad games, because villains are bad. So Victor is arch nemesis and likes the game much more than we do, probably.
Okay,
I'm not. I don't know where I'm
I'm
going.
I'm confused. I don't know
Me
where you're
too.
going either. Maybe we should go
Yeah,
to number four.
yeah, yeah. Let's do the number 4 instead. All
Well,
right.
so until recently, I did not know that this game was part of the Nirishima Hex universe. But my number four is a member of a universe that I guess we're going to see on my next couple of games, and that is Last Aurora. It's another cold death game. In the game, you
A lot
are
of those.
building a caravan of cards and driving forward, trying to reach a ship, which I've never actually reached. Um,
Me neither. Me
and
neither. We're
the
trying.
game ends either way, but it's you're occasionally fighting against enemies. There will be 6 fights during the course of the game, or 6 enemies that'll show up, and you're also trying to avoid radiation poisoning. You're trying to gather food, which lets you sort of activate people more quickly. You're gathering resource or fuel, which lets you move faster, and you're managing this convoy of sort of spaces for workers and things, trying to have the most points at the end of the game. The theme is in some aspects really strong and in some aspects really weak. The rules are pretty bad, honestly. It's really a tough game to learn from the
Mm-hmm.
rule book. There are 2 expansions. One expansion adds some more boards. One expansion adds some more cards. They're both fine expansions. I really enjoy this game. I enjoy sort of the way that you build up this convoy of this truck. You're building the top and the bottom and kind of customizing it as you go. It's not a particularly long game. It can feel a little bit mean if somebody is always kind of sniping all of the rewards. The way the rewards from a combat come is a little bit randomly determined,
Mm-hmm.
and that can
Yeah.
be a negative experience for some people. But you just kind of have to plan for it, I guess. But I enjoy the game a lot, and it doesn't really feel like anything else.
All right. Yeah, yeah. It has this kind of and the base game is the end is anticlimactic because mostly you will not get to the ship, and the
I've
scoring
never gotten to the
isn't
ship.
scoring isn't big enough. I mean, like this, I would have preferred more scoring in this game.
Yeah,
Like
20 points is a
opportunities.
high score here.
Yeah.
It's also pretty good solo.
Mm. All right. So my number 4 is another game that I think you've tried it, but it's higher on my list, as I said, because the more I feel the theme, uh, the higher it is on my list. It's not particularly like if I would rearrange the list based on the games that I really like, it might have been lower on my list. This one is definitely a post-apocalyptic Mad Max universe, but with this kind of a hero mechanisms. Wasteland Express delivery service community, US postal service. No, I'm kidding. Wasteland Express delivery service.
Hmm.
Not a great name.
No.
It's too long, guys. Too long. But the game itself.
So's
So
the game.
it is, but it gives you this vibe of post-apocalyptic universe. A little bit of the Mad Max going on with the art, etc. And you have this truck that you can upgrade as well. You're picking goods from one side. It's pick up and delivery, but there's raiders that attack you, trying to fend them off, um, trying to block the other players, etc. Trying to get the most out of your delivery company, and it just works. It's long. It's hard to learn, but once you get in it, it just works well. To be honest,
Sure.
it's not something that I've left in my collection just because it's just too long. It has this kind of I'm tend not to play same games too many times too often because it's hard to get big games out and play
Yeah.
them several times. So it's the game that if you don't play often enough, you always have to remember the rules again and maybe play with a new crowd, and then it's too long again. It's a kind of a not a lifestyle game, but it's a game that you need to support with your plays.
Yeah.
Yeah, but overall, I
So
like the whole idea.
yeah, this game was actually so I don't love the game, honestly. It was kind of a flop for me. But what this game did do is it put the company Game Trays into people's minds. This was sort of their first, I don't know, it wasn't necessarily their first
True.
game that they worked on, but they came out with this and people were like, okay, the game's great, but what are these trays? It
Mm-hmm.
also was kind of a rebranding for Pandasaurus. Beforehand, it had done a lot of kind of reprints of mediocre older games, and
True. Yeah.
this was sort of the new Pandasaurus. It was the first kind of their new wave of games that came out. So it's been an
True.
important game for those two reasons, even though I don't really love this one for its gameplay.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, number 4, Wasteland Express delivery service. Okay, that was
Very
fun.
well.
Let's get to number 3.
Let's go. Well, I told you we were going to be in the Nirishima world for a little while. And my number 3 is a game that's in the Nirishima world, just like my number 4, apparently. And this is a game you talked about earlier. This is Nirishima Hex. It's an interesting sort of a post-apocalyptic world of machines, kind of a machine takeover, and then there's people fighting them. It's a very abstract game. It is a very thinky game to play. And it's a game where you can make a mistake and it can really blow up your game, but fortunately, it's not very long. There are something like 20 factions for this game that all play differently. It's a miracle that it's still being supported 20 years later. I don't know how many other games there are. Arguably, Summoner Wars is, but that's the second edition. Um, but this is like, I guess they're in the 3.0, but it's really the same game. It is just a very interesting abstract puzzle. It definitely is one that I would prefer to play on an app many times rather than on the table. That's actually how I learned it. And then I started taking it to the table because there's more stuff there to play with. But a really interesting abstract skirmish game.
Yeah, I do agree.
All right.
Uh,
I
Based on my
figured you
list as
would
well.
not disagree since it was on your list.
Yeah, true. Anyway, my number 3 is the one that was already mentioned by you. It's the Winter.
Okay.
Uh, Higher on my list. I do really enjoy the game, but also it gives the vibes of this post-apocalyptic world.
Sure.
Now, just to add to your two words is that I would love to see this one. I don't know who owns the rights. I think Asmodee has the rights for Dead of Winter. Sadly, But if Playhead Games would have gotten the rights for this game to fully republish it, I would have told them to rework this as a fully co-op game, lose some of these things, because this hidden the problem with this game is, I really like it, but the problem with this game is the when there's a trader and when there's the own goals that you have that feels treacherous. It's sometimes it takes the game out of balance and it doesn't work. So it can be a great experience or a flop. It can be good or bad. And if people, let's say somebody buys the game and they play it for the first time and it's this bad experience first, and let's say they play the second time and it's bad again, probably the third and fourth play will be good. Maybe. We don't know. That's one thing. And they're just gonna sell the game. That's the thing. It's not consistent. It needs to be reworked as a fully co-op game with Crossroads cards that really work as Crossroads cards. Because this mechanism of Crossroads cards that came out, this is the first game of that. Great idea, amazing. It was kind of fun, but now as we have Forgotten Waters, for example, it's much more fun because stuff happens. Crossroad events happen. This one is like, we had games where like only one Crossroad card was kind of a triggered. It's not fun. These things like, and the thing is that this is kind of a meta game. If that player does that particular thing, and you like, instead of focusing on your own game, you have to be precise that you don't forget about that. Like, if they move them up away from there, like, then it triggers. This is not great. It's great for the video game where stuff just happens because of the code on its own. It's automatic. Here, manually, it just doesn't work well. So, I hope they get the rights, or somebody gets the rights, or whatever, to rework the game, because this was a hit, and even now it can be a huge hit if they make a second edition with totally reworking the game into this co-op zombie apocalypse with crossroads that work the same way as in Forgotten Waters, for example, etc. Maybe some of the expansions that add the story elements, the campaign, the map, or something like that you have to ride between different colonies, because it was The Walking Dead, the game, for me at that point.
Sure. You can play it cooperatively with the rules out of the box, but it's a very subpar experience.
It's so bad. I mean, like, full co-op, like, that thing, Nemesis. I always say Nemesis full co-op is much more fun than this. And what Nemesis did.
Oh, definitely.
Right. Yeah, it's like you also have, everybody has their own hidden roles. And first of all, in Nemesis, you get 2 cards, and then you choose one of them. And there is no traitor as it is. There's just people with their personal goals. So
sure,
they did one thing right. Don't put traitorous things in a game and then the traitor on top of it. It can ruin the game. Semi-co-op works. It's a very thin line where it works when it doesn't. So yeah,
very well.
Still higher on my list because it's such a great game. Just
sure,
past its time.
Very well.
Let's get to number 2.
Let's go. All right. My number 2 is yet another game in the Nirishima universe. My favorite of the Nirishima universe games, I guess. This is a post-apocalyptic game of card play. The game is 51st State. This is an interesting evolution of a game. This game came out and it was like Race for the Galaxy. If you find a 1.0 edition, it's almost unplayable with the number of symbols that are in there. Then it was reworked into Imperial Settlers, and the amazing innovation was to write with words on the cards. And then it was sort of the lessons learned from Imperial Settlers were put back into a new edition of 51st State. And the new edition is really good. It's streamlined. You're racing to 25 points, and you're just sort of building up your engine. You can attack other people. You can just focus on your own stuff, generate resources. It's really a very good game. It uses the same characters and factions you would find in Hiroshima Hex, but does so, there's not a whole lot of story there, right? It's really just a game of card play. But the card play is so fascinating. And
Mhm.
even though there's those three games, this one, Imperial Settlers and Empires of the North, and I ask me any day of the week which one I like best. This is the only one that has a post-apocalyptic theme, so it's easy to fit on this list. But it's one I definitely recommend. It's, especially as a two-player game, can be a really tight, fast experience, and I really enjoy it.
Yeah. I only played Imperial Settlers. Oh, I played the Empires of the North as well. Okay.
Sure.
Yeah. Why I haven't played this one, why I haven't gotten to this one is because just it's yeah, as you say, Imperial Settlers thing. It's this mechanism
If you
that
don't like one, you
or
won't like the other.
yeah, it's I like Imperial Settlers, but it kind of fell flat eventually for me. It's like at the beginning, like I'm
Sure.
liking it, and then I don't like it really, or something like that. I don't know.
Okay.
It just became boring of a mechanism. That's why. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is the one where it's all a common deck. Imperial Settlers is a blend of common and personal deck, and then Empires of the North is all a personal deck. And that might change how you feel about one versus the other, but they're all good. But
Might be
again,
more
this is the only one that
balanced.
really fits the list.
The only common deck might be more balanced than the your own deck versus common deck because
Yep. You'll have to try and see.
some of the factions in Imperial Settlers were better than the others, or much easier to
Easier to
understand.
use. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So my number 2 is the game you already mentioned. It's Anachrony.
Okay.
Yeah, everything you said. It's rather thematic for such a huge board game. And as I said, once you get past the rules and initial kind of a iconography that feels overwhelming, it's not really. It's all rather clean. It's very understandable. It's just a lot of rules within the rule book. If somebody teaches you, it's much easier.
Yes.
Exosuits. You have to buy the exosuits with the game.
You have to buy them.
I mean, otherwise you need to put the tiles on top of the smaller tiles, and it's just it's because the game is so many things going on, like graphically. But I like building your buildings. It's like a little bit of that Manhattan Project kind of a feel because you get the workers, and you can get a lot of workers, and how you use them or you pull them uh, back, and you need to feed them in order to get them back. If you don't, they start rebelling, and then you like lose some points, whatever. But still, you're not stuck. And I like this idea of your own board with a lot of buildings where you can put your workers down, versus the central board. This is the Manhattan Project kind of a concept, and it's done here as well. And I love that concept there, and I love this concept here. The time travel thing, yeah, this is something
It's very
would like.
hand wavy.
Yeah, it's like I would have reworked that. I mean, like it kind of, yeah, it gives you the theme of time traveling, kinda, but it's like I get the resource, then I have to travel back. It's this extra mechanism that you need to teach and learn that doesn't add that much fun to the game. Going back to get the projects to build the projects that were in the past, just give me the choice of projects. I'm just gonna build them. The game's gonna be same fun or even more. I mean, like this yeah, time travel doesn't work. Yeah, everything else it's a great game. It's an amazing game.
I agree. I enjoy the game. It was definitely on my list.
All right, let's get to the final number 1.
Okay. All right. I don't think you would be able. I can guess your number one, but I don't think you would be able to guess mine.
Is it the
Um,
Hiroshima Hex universe or
it
Hiroshima
is
universe?
not. Your number one will be back in
Finally.
that universe, but mine, I have stepped away from that
Uh
universe.
no.
And
It's a pseudo. It's it's a fake. It's a fake. That universe within that game that you think about my number one. It's fake. It's like they just marketed.
Just rebranded it.
Yeah.
Well, anyway,
Ah,
well,
no.
so mine is a brand new game. My number one and my number 10 are brand new games. The difference is I've played this one a bunch already.
Wait. Give me a hint.
It
Any
has a
brand new
flower on the
game?
cover.
Oh no, a flower on the cover. What?
It's a game
No.
about rebuilding. The game is called Revive.
Oh,
And
is it post-apocalyptic?
oh, yeah, in fact, the theme is there's been an apocalypse and you've hidden in a cave with your people, and you're coming out to revive this fallen world.
True, because revive. Yeah, true. I because
Mhm.
I forgot about this one because it seems so abstract. Like,
And you haven't
is it?
played it. Um,
I never played it. Yeah. But I should have
this
remembered
game
this again. Yeah.
stormed into my life. I mean, this game has everything that I'm going to love in it. The rules are pretty simple. The components are nice. The artwork's nice. The theme is barely there. Let's be honest. It's just kind of getting stuff. But but you've got this world that you're kind of populating with your buildings, and those buildings will get you various types of income. You've got people that you're kind of sending out there, which upgrades your technology, and you have these tracks where you're kind of advancing on them to try and get different bonuses and unlock different things. This is look, I don't know. It's a Porta Games, and a Porta Games has terrible distribution. Um, but this one, as soon as I heard about it, I knew I needed it, and I am glad to say I was not wrong. It's got a very interesting combination of sort of playing cards, and then you're managing two different hands, and you're also upgrading your card slots so that when you play different cards, you'll get different bonuses. There's just so much to love here. And it fits on this list because the theme is nominally hand wavy post apocalyptic. But but it's really just a Euro game. But it is one that I just, as soon as I got it, I fell in love, and it's one that I can see myself
Okay.
playing for a long time. Kind of one of my games of the year type of a thing. I don't know if it's my
Mm,
number one yet. I haven't done my list, but it's definitely going to be on there. And I just really love this game.
I would definitely want to. It was on my anticipated list for Essen, I think, or something like that. It's something I really want to try. Yeah. I just forgot about like it
Well, you
being
wouldn't have put it on your list
post-apocalyptic.
because you haven't played it.
I mean, like I forgot about being a post-apocalyptic. I was like,
Oh,
oh,
okay, all right.
a Euro game. It's like, yeah. All
Oh,
right. So
also, it has a campaign in it, and the campaign sucks. It's basically just discard it and just open all the stuff. It's just a way to
okay,
get slowly into the stuff.
okay, good for beginners. Um, my number one is as you have guessed, in Hiroshima. No, it's not. It's it's Hereditary. um,
Hereditary.
not Hereditary.
Hereditary means it's like diarrhea because it runs in the genes.
No. It's heretic or something like that. I don't
Heretical?
remember the
Heresy?
word.
I
Heresy.
don't know what you're trying to say. I don't know what this has to do with Last Aurora, but
No. Putting it in the Hiroshima
oh,
universe
is a heresy. Okay, you're
is a
saying that's a
heresy.
heresy.
Thank you. I tried
Mhm.
to come up with this word. I couldn't.
Definitely not hereditary.
English is not my first language, and even not my
Understood.
second. It's my third language. Anyway,
Very well.
all right. So Last Aurora, yes, that is the one. So I've not played
Okay.
the. I've only played the base game. I do have expansions. I've not tried them yet. I'm gonna play the expansions in a week. We have decided on a kind of a Saturday play day, and we're gonna play Last Aurora. So what I love about this game is how thematic it is within this Euro mechanisms. There is some luck as well. It's not your dry strategy game, which I wouldn't love within such a universe and such a theme. How you build up your cards and things, how the cards work, how they rotate, and how you build up your truck with this up and down parts, and then you put the resources and you have limited spaces, etc. everything just works so well. The Raiders part, yeah. The end game scoring, yeah. But I'm hoping that the expansions add enough of this variety of variability, especially the second expansion, which adds this kind of a campaign mode or story elements or something like that. It adds, but I mean, like, I hope it adds enough. I mean, like, I don't need a huge story
I
or
haven't
something like
tried it
that.
yet, so I haven't
I
tried the
just
campaign, but
okay. I just
yeah.
hope the story elements add enough of this extra to the game. It's like extra thing to decide on, extra thing to do. Any extra
Characters from the
thing.
Hiroshima universe.
Heresy. Burn. All right. So, but yeah. Last Aurora is such an amazing game, and if the expansions are well done, I hope so, then it will probably bump the game up on my overall top 100 or whatever list. My top
Okay.
list, because
I will
it's
tell
really good.
you, I don't think either of the expansions is going to blow you away. They're both nice to have, but neither is something I would consider critical.
Let's see. Maybe I will love
They're
it more,
modest changes to the game, basically, is what I would say. They're
which is fine for
alternate
me.
versions of the base game.
Which is fine for me because I like the balance of the base game. I like how it's not
Yeah,
too complicated. Like, let's say if we put
sure.
Anachrony here, it's a lot. This one is easier to learn. I don't want it
There
to
is
be complex.
the asymmetric starting decks. That's one I think I would always add.
Oh, this is in the second expansion, I think.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the one with the story elements. Yeah. That's something I'm really eager to try because
Look, it's a very small change. Again, I don't want to set your expectations here. I want to set them here so that you'll enjoy it.
No. I've read the rules of the expansions.
Okay.
I don't expect anything like my expectations aren't high because if you put a lot of like this game was balanced to be competitive, but common decks and things. If you put a lot of asymmetry into the game that was not designed to be asymmetric, like root or etc., then it can ruin the game. So I
Yeah.
like
It
how
won't ruin it.
they
It's just 2 cards.
make subtle but I like how they make the subtle changes. Just a bit
Okay.
of that. Inject a little bit of that. Inject a little bit of that. This is important for such
Okay.
games because otherwise they will be overblown with stuff that they don't really need. Okay,
Very well.
so this was the top 10 post-apocalyptic games, and
It was.
that's it for today's episode. Thank you for watching. Give us your picks of post-apocalyptic games in the comments below.
Sure.
And yeah, it's gonna be. From now on, I was trying to think about like the games to put on this list. I'm like, I haven't played enough post-apocalyptic games. I need to find more of these because I really like the theme. I realized how much I like the theme, really.
Yeah. And I realized that, like I said, it's not really a theme that attracts me. And there are a lot of bad games with this theme.
Not bad,
So,
mediocre.
some of them are pretty bad.
Yeah, I struggle with the list because when I looked at my list, I'm like, all of the like I have more games to choose from, but all of these are like 6, 5, 4. Like the lower ratings. I'm like, I don't want to choose mediocre games for my list. Okay,
No.
yeah.
We should do our top 10 mediocre games.
I don't think it will be fun enough.
No, it wouldn't. Anyway.
Thank you for watching. We'll see you another time.
Indeed. We'll see you on Wednesday and on another episode.
Yeah, and watch Wednesday on Netflix. It's a good series.
I haven't watched it yet. All right.
It's about Adam's family and Wednesday.
Yeah, I know. I'm busy watching a different one right now, and then I'll have to get to it. But
you might
more to
like
come there, I guess. Sure.
Yeah. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.